Okay, we are live. So thank you all for joining us today for the first episode of How I Pivoted and the launch of our SOS series, which we're very excited about. Let me tell you a little bit about who we are. WorkAbility is a Denver-based independent co-working space with 6 locations across Capitol Hill neighborhood. We pride ourselves on offering some of the best office and co-working opportunities in Denver, and we bring a great deal of community benefits to our members. We partner with organizations that put entrepreneurial endeavors and front and center, which is where they should be in our line of work. And the SOS series is no exception. We're hoping to bring some vital know-how and hands-on experience to the series to maximize the impact and learning opportunities for our attendees. And without further ado, the esteemed Arezou Zarafshan will host and moderate the series. You can see her to my left, perhaps your right. For those of you who don't know Arezou's professional background, she consults for major brands and sits on numerous advisory boards and has brought multiple products to the market. So she's got it all. She's the founder of a group of successful businesses, including the Startup Fundraising Academy and her current consulting firm, which is Arezou Zarafshan and Associates. So thank you and welcome, Arezou. And I'm going to hand the reins over to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Caroline. And I am really, really excited to be here, everyone. Thank you for joining. So a little bit of housekeeping before we start is if you have questions, which we hope you do, click the Ask the Question button, and that will bring up a screen for you to type in your questions. And we have dedicated about 8 minutes at the end of the session to answer questions. Also, viewers, you all can upvote a question. So if there's a question that's been asked that you really are liking, make sure you vote that up, and that will come to the top of the priority list so we can answer it that way. And what Caroline said about WorkAbility, I absolutely echo. WorkAbility is open, given that Denver, Colorado is now in the safer at home. They lifted the shelter at home mandate. So WorkAbility is open. And I encourage everyone to go and take a beautiful tour of the place. And it's just more than the beauty of the building. It's the community of WorkAbility that really, really makes it special. So I can't say enough about that. All right. So let's get on with it. I don't think anyone is surprised if I say that no one could have predicted the extent of the global impacts of COVID-19. Almost no one. We all know about Bill Gates' famous TED Talk, but it's probably safe to assume that no average human being anticipated what the world has gone through, depending on where you are, starting January, and then for the US, definitely starting March. I work, and Caroline as well, we work with a lot of founders on a daily basis, and pivoting is a constant topic of conversation. I would venture to say that about 90% of the founders that I have talked to, from EdTech, startup founders, which EdTech right now is a really hot market, but from EdTech all the way to brick and mortar business owners, are thinking about how they should pivot their business, if they should pivot their business, and how they can survive this seemingly elastic period, and ideally thrive. So I'm really excited because my guest, Kelly Frank, is the founder and CEO of Vidya Life. Vidya provides hemp extract products, emerged as a solution to provide consumers clarity and knowledge about the cannabis industry, and for consumers who take charge of their health decisions. In short, they produce honest, wonderful quality hemp health products. Did I say that right?
You did. It's a mouthful.
Okay. Vidya, like most businesses, was affected by COVID, and Kelly has been able to navigate this interesting journey of pivoting. And we are here to ask her all kinds of questions about it. So let's hear about it. So Kelly, welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us about yourself. Where did you grow up? What was your upbringing like? Who are you? What are you?
Yeah, so I grew up here in Colorado. Actually, I haven't strayed too far. I went to school in Colorado as well. So growing up was, I grew up in Highland Ranch. I don't know if people are familiar with that, but it was actually a ranch when we grew up. Now it's a huge development and like the rest of the city. So, but normal activities, hiking, biking, swimming. I swam all the way through high school. So just really active and, outdoorsy.
And you found yourself in the cannabis industry one day. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I actually, what kind of long story, but I started my career out of college, which I went for business management and marketing. And so it was kind of this like wide open door of, okay, now what do I go do? There's not like this specific slot that I could fit into. So I ended up getting a job actually in finance at Lockheed Martin. And so I spent about 15 years doing government contracts and basically supply chain and technology. And I ended up, getting out of that probably, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago, and ended up going to a consulting agency where I built a practice, supply chain technology. And so I did a lot of consulting with data management and kind of helped a, not startup, but a younger company grow. They were about 125 when I started. And by the time we left, we'd grown the revenue in my consulting department and then also across the company. And we had about 400 people. And at that time, I was asked by a friend of mine to come help with a cannabis company that was about to go public with consulting and new product development and branding. And so I took a risk and decided to jump out and start consulting in the cannabis industry. And, asked some people that I'd worked with for a long time to come join me. And, shaping this cannabis industry, there was a huge need for supply chain and definitely technology within the industry and kind of, business process optimization across. And so we kind of saw it all, actually. It was really good and bad. I saw some scary manufacturing places for sure. And so Vidya was kind of born out of a need to bring a trusted, honest product to market. And we really wanted something that was targeted and really, healthy living, kind of to shape, the background of, where I came from as well, so just like the outdoorsy and the Colorado lifestyle and hiking and biking and yoga and different outdoor sports. And so the brand that we really focused in on for Vidya was to be a joint and muscle repair brand. And so it kind of really bloomed out of that, just kind of a need to, really logistically and supply chain wise, like bring together the best of the best partners in order to really shape a product line that was honest and true.
And so what year was that?
So that was 2018. So actually in May, so almost about 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay, congratulations. And so what was that startup journey like? Like when you started Vidya, what were you expecting? What was that experience like?
Nothing that I would have thought it would have been. Much, much more difficult. So, coming from supply chain and technology, my focus was really, optimizing the way that we bring something to market and, sourcing the right products and, quality products, quality supply chain, and really bringing that together as a whole. And, not knowing exactly what I was getting into is probably a good thing because I probably wouldn't have done it. But to be honest, it was chaos because, hemp, the rules change every day. I mean, now we have, December 2018 is when basically the Farm Bill was approved. And so that kind of released from a state level, a little bit less regulation, but just, the normal things of starting a business, like getting a bank account and getting a payment transaction system it's a whole nother level in the hemp industry, just because, there was not banks that wanted to bank with us in the beginning. And so it was a lot of legwork on little things that you think aren't things. And so the upstart was probably a lot more work than we thought it would be. But I think what we really focused on is like the compliance and regulation part of this to ensure that everything that we were doing was in line because, one day, from a hemp perspective, something that's purple is now red, but you have to comply with that purple and red regimen. And so you really have to be able to pivot quickly and, maintain the brand and the compliance around it. You see a lot of hemp companies today that are getting taken down, basically from non-compliance and really making medical claims and stuff. And so we are very, very strict and regimented about really self-regulating ourselves and staying in line with the policies that we think are being pushed forward, and just all around making sure that we have a compliant brand that the end consumer knows what they're getting. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is really the end consumer doesn't understand the hemp industry because it is so unregulated, and so what they're buying might not have anything in it at all. And so we had another uphill battle, I would say, just from, Vidya, the name means knowledge and clarity, and that really came about because providing that end consumer real knowledge about what are they buying into. And, hemp is, first of all, there's certain things to look for in order to make sure that, what that product says it is, but what's on the label is actually what's in that package. Mm-hmm. We focus on, making sure that the end consumer knows, how to go look for the right product. And then not only that, but it's a regimen. So it's not just like I took it today and I feel much better. It's, your daily vitamins type of thing. So we really focus on the whole health and wellness regimen altogether.
Okay, awesome. So fantastic. You started a business and then you learned about all the, all the intricacies and ups and downs and all the regulations, et cetera, et cetera. Talk to me about your growth. So how did the business grow? How has it grown in the past couple of years prior to March?
Yeah, so right before March, so where we were at, we launched our product line in June of last year. So we weren't out the gate too far, but we basically launched, we were at the Cherry Creek Farmers Market to kind of launch, and our goal was really, from a revenue standpoint, it was less about the intake of revenue, but more about, meeting that consumer, understanding our target audience, refining, the way that we speak with our consumers and educate them, and really understanding like the market. What does the market want? Not just really what do we want to bring to market, but what are they asking for? So we spent, about 6 months at the farmers market, really understanding our end consumer, and we did quite well from a revenue standpoint. And our next phase was really to get more into e-commerce and distribution. So our focus was fitness and gyms, and so we started getting distribution into different gyms, fitness gyms, and then e-com. And so, anybody that's an entrepreneur and is looking to go into business, looking at, distribution and retail, you learn quickly, margins and really how to price things. It's definitely a science for sure in order to learn how to do that. So we had a lot of lessons in, making sure that we had the right price along the way in order to be able to play in different marketplaces, whether it be distribution or straight retail or e-com. And then the next layer was really learning the advertising piece of this. So we brought on a advertising agency, and their CEO, Brian Saxman, is our CMO. And so they're with Mobs Marketing. And so they basically really helped us to develop out the marketing and brand and really uplift that. But I'd say, again, you don't know what you don't know, because the hemp industry, there's a lot of regulations they've loosened up, but advertising on Facebook and Google is very difficult. So it's, again, there's a lot of compliance that goes into making sure these ads stay up. We actually just got on the radio. We're doing radio advertising, and that launched actually last week. So that's been kind of fun and exciting, because they just lifted kind of the ability for us to get on and do ads on the radio. And then we just started up a digital ad campaign actually today. So
awesome. So just so that I am clear, so is hemp the same thing as CBD, or are they different?
They are different. And so CBD it's a cannabinoid within hemp. And so, yeah, within hemp. And so oftentimes that was probably the biggest, I'd say, hurdle to overcome at the farmer's market, because when we we're at the market. Our brand looks very cosmetic, and that's on purpose. Like, we want it to be something, you know, you can carry in your purse and you can leave on the counter and leave at work, and it doesn't seem, you know, like you have a marijuana plant on packaging. You're gonna have, you know, be like, what is that? What is she doing over there? So, you know, it's definitely unassuming on purpose, but we quickly learned that. So it's Vidya formulated hemp therapy. And there was other CBD places at the farmers market too. And so what we quickly learned is people don't understand that there is a difference. And so we are trying to stay, you know, compliant, because we're not just CBD. We have multiple cannabinoids within that profile. And so CBD is the largest piece of what goes into our formulation of the oil, but it's not the only thing. So when people say CBD, it's kind of a catch-all, you know, it's kind of like, or Budweiser, you know, beer, like beer is the catch-all for, you know, any type of beer, but there's different strains and crafts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a difference. And that was definitely the biggest thing to overcome.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, because I mean, you keeps hearing CBD. This has got CBD on it. This has got CBD on it. Anywhere from drinking water to, I don't know, to medicine to cosmetics, and I just wanted to be, so that makes a lot of sense. So okay, so now let's just fast forward to March of 2020.
Okay.
And we wake up one day. I mean, the news was trickling in, but we, you know, what was it, like first week of March, second week of March, we all woke up and like, this is happening. The government is putting the controls in place, and the world is going out of control. So tell me about the business. What happened?
Yeah, so where we were at was, so we have, you know, Vidya, the consumer brand, and then we have this clinical side. So we're trying to get into more of a clinical realm. We've been working with doctors along the last 6 months or so to develop this product to be given out in a medical fashion, basically, so that it's, you know, all the way through the doctors watching what they're taking, and, you know, we're looking at upfront markers, we're taking the product, and then we're getting results. And so kind of collecting that data. So we were on the path of funding. And so, you know, we worked probably, you know, the first 3 months of the year heavily just really, you know, preparing our pitch and working with, you know, different venture groups and angels to kind of, you know, test our pitch and really get out there in the marketplace. And then this all, you know, crashed. And so nobody was really in the mood to move forward on a new venture and give a bunch of money at that point. That kind of changed the focus of where we were headed. But right before that happened, I'd actually, we brought on a sales team to get more into distribution. And so it was a team, the owner actually was the founder and owner of Wild Oats, which is now Sprouts. Mm-hmm. So our idea was, she's got a lot of impact into getting into different retail chains. And then we were trying to get into the Nordstroms and Sephora's of the world with our cosmetic brand, cosmetic looking brand. And so that kind of fell to the wayside as well as everything closed. So what we decided was, one of our products, our ice product, is it's based with alcohol and menthol, and it can be a replacement for hand sanitizer. So I was thinking, you know, what can we do with this? Like, you know, we have, you know, a premium product, you know, line that we currently pushed out. We have, you know, no retail establishments, you know, that we're going to need to be getting distribution unless it's going to a grocery chain, which really isn't necessarily our target audience because of the price point. And so, you know, thinking quickly on our feet was, you know, we have the ability to make hand sanitizer, and, you know, we didn't want to just kind of sit around and wait for something to happen. And so, you know, there's a shortage in the industry. And so kind of it flooded all back almost with our supply chain expertise. So my partner and I, the original partner that started Vidya, he and I had both been in supply chain and technology for a long time. And so we started this together. But it was, okay, how do we go start sourcing all of this stuff? Because with the impact of COVID, ironically, the real impact wasn't the hand sanitizer, it's the bottles. And so, because everything is imported from China. And so you have this huge funnel of stuff that's not being imported, and there's, you know, stopgaps in place. And so we really kind of were able to leverage our background outside of Vidya to really bring in these bottles with some of these major manufacturers that we worked with a long time ago. And so we were able to kind of get bottles in, and then we worked with our manufacturer in order to develop a hand sanitizer that was FDA authorized and get it out the door in a month, which is amazing to me because of the amount of time it took us to get Vidya off the ground, and then just to be able to spin this out in a month was pretty cool.
Okay, so awesome story. Let's dig in a little bit. So here it goes. Like your retail, your pipeline for investors that's drying up. Investors are falling out. Your pipeline for retail is dead because retail is shut down, and you and your partner come up with the idea of the hand sanitizer. Tell me about the moment. Did you two like sit and start brainstorming? Did it occur to one of you middle of the night? What was that moment like?
So honestly, it was, I was talking to the sales team, and, they're trying to figure out, I don't know what we're going to go out and do now because, nobody's going to be picking this up. We can still, put it ourselves in line. Because at the time too, remember, like we didn't all think that the market was just going to close. And so we were just trying to think of, who can we get in front of? Is anybody picking up this product? And, the sales team was like, no, everybody's only buying the hand sanitizer. That's all these grocery chains are asking for. And I'm like, well, the ice product is similar to that. And so it kind of like spun out of that one conversation. And, at that point, there was nothing but we should make something hand sanitizer related. And we were going to try to spin our ice product into something new. And instead, we just decided that, our Vidya is really a lifestyle brand is what we want it to be at the end of the day. And so what we, it's kind of that, everything that goes in the purse is what we want, so hand sanitizer is kind of one of those natural things. I would have never thought that would be the next product out the gate for us at any level, but it was something that we could do, and we didn't want to just sit back and wait when that was something that was in a huge need. My sister actually works in a ER, and so just seeing what's going on at that level was an emotional kind of kick to make sure that this happened, just to make sure they were getting what they needed. And but yeah, it just kind of came out of thin air, really. It was like, what are we going to do? And this is, what is the product, or what does the market want right now? And the market wants hand sanitizer. And so that was kind of the natural next step for us.
Okay. And did you have everyone bought in? Like, how did, did you have any resistance? Maybe that doesn't work. How did that whole process of bringing along your team? What was that like?
So we're not that big, right? So there's about, four of us that are partners that have ownership in it. And then, there's a couple employees. And so it was more along the lines of, what are we going to go do? And how are we going to, survive this? So are we going to, we can't get funding right now. So that's going to impact us significantly in order to pay, all these bills and whatnot that we have coming in. So what's something creative and unique? And so hand sanitizer, I don't think was the top of mind for everybody when I said it, but I think, we all talked about it, and, the idea was we can help give back, and at the same time, we can help ourselves too. So we can, make revenue without price gouging, which there's a lot of people that are doing that, which has been another kind of stressor of bringing this to market because it gets shut down. It's ironic. So now hemp is very easy to run ads on all of a sudden, and hand sanitizer is one that gets shut down. So, but I think the way that we kind of all agreed on going forward with this was that we were going to be able to actually have a product that wasn't hemp related too. So something that would help us with the advertising channel and really be able to get out there, because hemp has been so challenging to advertise. So we're like, well, now we don't have to have these, real strict standards with advertising. So we can start to bring awareness to the Vidya brand with the hand sanitizer and kind of get people into the family of the Vidya lifestyle. So that's kind of how, it doesn't stray, I don't think, too far from our core competencies of what we're trying to do with the products and lines that we're trying to push. But it was a kind of a shocking conversation, I would say, at first. But I think, we're all glad that we did it now. And, it's cool seeing like all the people that we're starting to help, and it's,
Yeah. So talk to me about the effects of it. So you launched it in a month.
Yep.
And from zero, from no hand sanitizer to hand sanitizer in the market in 1 month. Amazing. And so tell me what that's been like. How is it doing?
So far it's been doing great. I mean, so we got out the gate a couple weeks ago, and so we actually had everything, labeled, bottled, in the warehouse, ready to go. And so radio was our first out the gate, like, how are we going to get this out to people? And so we worked with Intercom, who is the local, they own basically all the radio stations out here. So we're on Alice, and then they're going to put us on a couple different radio stations. So we have a couple commercials, and it talks about the hemp product too. And so what we started to do was, how do we tie all this together to make sure that we're not losing who Vidya is? And so the campaign that we pushed out was buy our topical 2-pack, and then you get a free hand sanitizer, and then we donate hand sanitizer to local hospitals. And so basically we're partnered with Children's Hospital and Alice on this to push this out. So that so far has been good. We're starting to get more traction to the website. And then we worked with a firm also called Invisibly on the digital side. And so, which is, the banner ads and remarketing and stuff kind of that follows you around. And so we'll be on, some top websites that you'll see this promotion that will basically, bounce you back to the website. But the whole idea was, this helps us, and it also helps the community. So, we're giving back by donating the hand sanitizer. We're giving the hand sanitizer to the end consumer and donating it to the hospital. And then it's really about also pushing out our products, because joint and muscle is really where we're focused on. Is we've had so much success with, reducing inflammation and, joint and muscle pain. And, we've had a lot of success with people that have arthritis. So we wanted to kind of bring it back to home of, this is what Vidya is all about. And so now this is kind of an extension of our line with a new safety product,
This is really brilliant. So, a lot of times when I talk to founders that they're thinking about pivoting, and don't get me wrong, I advise against this, but what they think is to go 180 degrees in the other direction. Like, let's say somebody is selling pens and they say, well, I don't want to sell pens now, I want to sell jewelry. Yeah. Right. And so completely abandon the idea and what they had built. And what I'm hearing from you is not only you did not, sway from the brand, but you utilize this opportunity to give and help the community, as well as really strengthen your brand. So it's a catalyst for your brand to be stronger. And that's pretty brilliant. Did that come to you naturally? Did you guys brainstorm about it?
Oh, we definitely brainstormed about it. So I'd say Brian Zaxman, so our marketing agency, he's brilliant. And so I think, at first we kind of argued a little bit about, how does this is so off brand for us, but, in my opinion, we're not out the gate enough for us to be considered that brand. We have this vision of who we want to be. And of course we are staying the line with that. But I think his concern was, why are we doing something that's so outside of scope? It has nothing to do with hemp, which was, something that we had talked about probably a couple of months prior with the everything in the purse. So it doesn't all have to be hemp related, right? Just like what are the things that you need with you, that you're carrying with you on a daily basis that help with, healthy living. And so we ended up, talking a lot, brainstorming a lot to be able to form this back together. It wasn't this natural, like, oh, yep, it goes, perfect with what we're doing by any means. But there was a lot of brainstorming of, how do we campaign this to show that it's not just this extra product that, where are they getting this hand sanitizer from? Is this something they threw together and, they're giving out? And we wanted to make sure that it's still, it upheld to the safety and, the trusted brand that we portray today of who we are and who we strive to be and continue to be. And so, it was definitely some discussions to if this was the right direction to head. But, at the end of the day, it was, lots of family members and friends you see losing their jobs, and it's pretty scary, especially being an entrepreneur. And, I have young kids and whatnot. And, my husband's job was in biotech. And so that was, shifting down like significantly right at the get-go. And so it was, what are we going to do in order to survive this? And how do we make money? How do we help? And how do we connect this so that we don't lose who we were with Vidya? And so it definitely was a lot of conversation to get here, though. But
that's awesome. Yeah. So talk to me about your fears and doubts and the sleep nights, and how did you manage those?
It's been challenging. So, yeah, there's not been a lot of sleep, but I don't think I've slept that much anyway. I think, I live on like 4 hours and I'm good. And so I think some of it's just like laying down in bed too, like resting and being like, no kids are talking to me. Nobody talk to me for a minute, And so it's kind of getting like a little bit of alone time and resting, but my brain is like constantly going. Like I'm writing stuff down, like writing notes in my phone all the time. I actually think the best ideas come in the middle of the night for whatever reason that is. I don't know. But yeah, so it's been challenging. I mean, kids, work, new product line. My husband, thank God, has like stayed with this, and he's been super supportive. And the kids have been good. I mean, it was challenging though, just to like pivot to now you're a stay-at-home mom and a school teacher, and you have a business, and you're creating a new product line. So, but I think it's just small doses, and you do what you can, and I don't know, sleep comes when it comes.
Yeah. I mean, that is the part of on the entrepreneur journey, and now add motherhood and homeschool teacher and everything, household manager, the CEO of the house, and everything else to it. Totally relate. So now, let's fast forward now. Let's say a year from now. So let's say it's May of 2021.
Okay.
What is going on at Vidya then? What's happening then? And how did this pivot in your mind, in your view, how has this pivot affected that?
Honestly, I didn't think that it was going to be as big as it has been. And so I'd say it's not going away by any means. So I think originally, it's going to be a smaller piece of the business, and it's just how things work out, I think, in life. You don't really plan it, and it kind of overtakes. But I think, it's going to definitely be a product that we continue to carry because there's a need. And, I kind of related this to, we actually got a little bit of funding for this idea. And the concern was the same thing. So is this just some epiphany that you guys are going to do for a little bit and then it's going to go away? And to me, it's not going away because, as a new mom, like when a new mom has a baby, oftentimes hand sanitizer is that one thing that you always carry with you. And so I think now with COVID, that's everybody. And I don't think that's going away anytime soon. So I think there's going to be a need for it. So it's going to definitely be part of who we are, and just, one of those other items in the purse that we will have as the brand. But we're still really heavily focused on the medical side. So from a Hemp perspective, our goal always was to really get this into a light that is more clinically based, because that's I think who's going to survive in this market. There's so many like products out there that have X amount of the potency of milligrams of hemp and all these other things, and some of them work, some of them don't work. It's snake oil, so we really want to get to the point that we are a clinical based brand. So the next extension is still moving forward, and so we're working still with the other side. I mean, we've gotten consumed with where we're at, and so we paused obviously right now on that focus, but we're still working with a manufacturer on really developing a I don't know if I should say it, but we're developing a pill that will help with extended release. So
okay,
really looking at really helping people to get off opioids and
nice.
and all that kind of stuff. And so the studies are going to be starting. So we're it's becoming more of a health tech company at the end of the day. And so really looking at, the telehealth platform, which we do have today, configuring that for our space, and then basically working with clinicians in order to basically bring individual protocols for the hemp industry to our end patients, essentially.
Do you find doctors being receptive to hemp and this alternative kind of medicine?
There's some that are and some that aren't, for sure. And so this is definitely more, functional integrated medicine that we're speaking with doctors. But it's actually been, not as challenging as I would have thought it would be, because, getting into the hemp industry is challenging enough. But I think, with our background with supply chain and manufacturing and like the real process of how to go develop a product and push it out has helped with these conversations with these doctors of really what we're trying to do is really match. It's a plant-based medicine. So when you kind of take that negative connotation of hemp and marijuana out of there, it really is, these things are around because they work. And so it's kind of pairing that holistic piece to regular medicine today. And so we haven't had much pushback. I think the study that we want to do, though, is really, I think we'll start with inflammation just because that's where we're focused, but looking at, the different markers. And so the patient ultimately would, take the blood test, and we'd end up having a baseline of what that patient, the start piece is today. Then they'd work with that doctor, be prescribed the medicine, whatever that is, whatever form that comes in. And then they'd be tracking that all the way through the telehealth platform. So that at the end of the day, we could say, okay, here's what the marker said, step one, from the genetics perspective, here's what they did, the regimen, track it with their doctor, and then some technology based behind that. And then at the end of the day, what was the results? And so we're really looking at the full data, like building up that data of clinical studies to understand like how does hemp and different cannabinoids interact with the human body.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. Now, curious to know, so this shift that you made, in terms of hand sanitizer and, not really hemp product, but you're relating it to the everything in the purse.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that this was just a little detour that will just stay with the brand? Or do you think this is an opening to a complete new segment, vertical opportunity? How do you view that?
I think it's an opening, honestly, because, hemp is definitely a passion. It's the reason we got into it is because it affected a lot of our families. And so, we've all seen success in it. And so it was really, the one thing that brought this team together in order to really understand the plant and how it can help the human body. But at the end of the day, I think, there's two pieces. And this is definitely something I would say that we work on, kind of the communication, because it's been confusing. Like we have our consumer side and then our clinical side. And so it's really hard to tie together, but the clinical side is really born out of, we're learning on the consumer side, really. So we're kind of testing and building anecdotal evidence in order to say that this should be a clinical, used in a clinical setting. And so I don't think it strays. I just think that, we'll have two different lines, one that's more consumer focused and, it has other products in it. And then there's another side of it that would be more clinical based, different strengths and different use exclusive to that side of the market.
Yeah. That's awesome. When you were saying everything in the purse for the consumer side, I was just the whole time I'm thinking, so I'm a mom just like you. You do not want to see what's in my purse.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of crap that nobody I don't even know why I carry half the stuff in there. Mine isn't real little anymore, so it's not like diapers and stuff, but I have tons of bars, like candy bars and just random stuff in there.
Random crayons.
Yeah.
I don't know, half Lego man, who knows?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so now let's think about, now that you have been in this for about a month, 6 weeks, that this product is in the market, if you were to do it again, how would you do it? How would you do it? Would you do it this exact the same way, or would you do it differently?
Honestly, I don't think we'd do it differently. What we did was, we did a lot of due diligence. We, connected, found the right partners in order to bring it together. And it was, a lot of Well, I guess I would do it a little bit differently, but you don't know what you don't know. So, I mean, even stuff that we found as far as bottling, like that was already stateside, still took a ridiculous amount of time to get to us. And so some of the things you just don't consider when you're putting this all together, but, you know, labeling and bottles and like timing that all perfectly. But I'd say it came together when looking at it. It's pretty shocking actually that we did it in a month, but at that time it was like, oh my God, like this is taking too long. And, you know, we got a label, we got a bottle, you know, we formulated the solution, it's FDA approved, we're listed. But yeah, I think it's just trial and error. And if this was our first product line, it would have never gone like this for sure. but But yeah, I think we probably would do it the same.
Okay, so then I'm going to turn the question around, and you know, one can say that it was luck that it went as well as it did. I would argue that. I would say you did certain things very well, and those you would repeat again. What are those things? Like, how would you do it again?
So I think honestly, it's all about the partnerships. It's like having the right partners and knowing who to call on in order to get things done quickly. And, you know, I actually just had a conversation this morning with our manufacturer, and he was saying, you know, he appreciates how honest and direct I am. And I think sometimes that's a problem, just because it's, hey, this is what I need. I'm not, you know, there's no BS about it. It's kind of like, this is where we're headed. You know, this is what we can do together. And I don't really dance around it. And I think that's kind of been a good thing, actually, is because everybody kind of knows the path of where they want to head. And, you know, we all know our roles, and we've worked really well together. But yeah, I think I would say just like building partnerships, relationships are everything, because at the end of the day, you never know who you're going to need to call on ever. And so, you know, just building that rapport and that personal, you know, relationship with people, I think is huge, because that network is key to driving business, driving life, essentially. But
yeah. What else? So right partners.
Yeah, the right partners, and just, you know, the background with supply chain, and, you know, being able to source this stuff and understanding the right arenas to go to. I mean, it is, you know, there's an art to it for sure. Being able to like strategically source. And so we've had partners obviously in China, and so right now we're actually looking at additive manufacturing too. So looking at the possibility of being able to 3D print these bottles. And
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
the United States, and not have to rely on that, and you know, and import from China, which is always ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, we always know, you know, there's the times of years anyway. But now with this COVID, there's things that, you know, are continuously stocked that are out until September. So I think it's, you know, that, you know, the key partners, and then just knowing how to source this, and just coming up with creative other ideas. And I mean, I think, you know, the additive manufacturing sounds crazy, but it's really not. I mean, it's come a really long way from where it was with 3D printing. And, you know, my background being in space launch, we were using that a long time ago. So it's, you know, I think it's more mainstream now.
Actually, I have two questions now. One is just my own question. So did they airship these bottles from China that you were able to, what's that?
So I don't know. So the bottles that we got were actually already in the United States.
Okay.
Getting them from, they were in Michigan, actually. Getting them from Michigan to here took over 3 weeks, just because of the logistical nightmare of, you know, it wasn't all in one location. So there's like multiple warehouses pulling that stock in and out, and then facilitating that freight in order to get it out here was a huge pain in the butt. But had it been in China, I don't know when we would have got it, honestly, because it's, you know,
exactly.
Everybody that we talked to is still yet to be receiving what they have ordered out there. And so, I mean, it seems easy, just, you know, go on Alibaba or, you know, whatever. I mean, we do have manufacturers out there, but there's still, I would put, you know, at least 3-4 months on whatever you expect you're getting.
No kidding. So I want to ask a question about the moment that you were saying that, you know, you and your team were talking about, you know, what to do. And I believe you said one of the members of the sales team said all everyone is buying is hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
And you heard that and you said, well, the gel product could be used for, or the ice product. Was it the gel product, the ice product?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could be used for that. So now, if that guy hadn't made that comment, and if you were not there at that moment, what do you think would have happened?
I don't know. I think, honestly, we might still be in the same spot just because, the thought still came out of, we all know that there's a shortage of hand sanitizer, right? And so it was not only that that's what people are buying, but there's a shortage. So that's a trigger for me that there's space to play in that arena, right? So if you can get that product, you can make that product, you can facilitate this to the marketplace, there's a potential for revenue growth. So I kind of think we would have gotten there because of the ice product anyway, because I know that it has, what it has in it from an alcohol standpoint can be used. I would not make a claim about that at all. It would be a very expensive hand sanitizer that I would not recommend using for that, but in a time of need, for sure. And so I think the coming off the hemp product would have taken a little bit longer. I don't think we would have got there that quickly, because at first I was thinking, okay, well, we'll do a CBD version. And then all these red flags in my mind went off of, oh God, like here's another, like not only, here's a safety product that we're trying to bring to market. And if it has hemp in it, then we're gonna have another level of difficulty. So it almost ended up being a perfect, ironic thing for us to bring this to in order to get us some brand awareness, because we don't have a hemp product now, and then drive, consumers back to our
brand.
Yeah.
I think that's really critical, Kelly. I think I would agree with you that you all would have come up with the same idea. You would have ended up there anyways. But what I will say that's very magical for me is that, you seized the moment and you seized the opportunity, and your team did that. So many times, great ideas, great, nuggets come up, show themselves, and for one reason or another, we move past them. And that idea, that little moment, could have been it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you seized the opportunity and your team acted on it as fast and with such agility as they did, I think that is definitely something to celebrate.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. It's still shocking. If you would have asked me where we'd be like 2 months ago, this is never where I thought I'd be, but it's been great. It has been. It's been, it's been a good experience. I think it was, you can pull out what you need to pull out in the time of a crisis too. So that was kind of cool too.
That's awesome. Okay, so we have some questions. I'm going to turn it over to questions, and then I have one last question for Kelly. One multi-part last question. So you all, whoever is here, which I think we've got 16 people right now, go ahead and submit your questions. So let's see what we got here. This is from Kathy McCarthy. Hi, Kathy. Kathy's my friend. So she says, I have a friend who is in chemo for an aggressive type of breast cancer. Her healthcare provider suggests CBD initially to help with her appetite. She is not eating, and the boost product, etc., tastes awful for her too. She cannot afford CBD though. Do you know if this is becoming recognized by Western medicine for appetite enhancement, etc.? Or can you recommend any other solutions through nonprofits or etc.? Thank you.
Yeah, so as far as the appetite piece of this, CBD itself, I don't think is going to be a driver for that. It's definitely something that she could try. I think more so what would probably be best is RSO, which is Rick Simpson oil. It is marijuana based, but it's been a huge success for pain management and appetite in order to for cancer patients, in order to be able to eat more and have more of an appetite. So it's called RSO. I don't know, is she in Colorado?
RSO, so I can type in.
Yeah, RSO, and it's Rick Simpson Oil. And so he is the creator of it. And so it's a huge thing. And so, but a very tiny amount goes a very long way. And you can get it at, there's a couple dispensaries in Colorado that you can get it at. And basically it's kind of a molasses looking tea product. And so it would kind of be used in place of maybe some type of an opioid, or I wouldn't recommend getting off anything ever. I always tell everybody, supplement with whatever you're doing with, the CBD or the THC products that you're using so that you can adjust your body and make sure that, it's working. And oftentimes you'll be able to wean off certain things, but it's not, don't ever do anything your doctor doesn't recommend you doing. But yeah, I think the Rick Simpson oil would probably be worth a try.
Is it Rick, R-I-C-K, Simpson, like S-I-M-S-O-N oil?
Yeah, Simpson,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put that in the comments, Kathy, and she says thank you. Awesome.
You can call me too, and I can give her more information too.
Okay, how do people find you, Kelly?
So we are at Vidya, VIDYA-life.com.
VIDYA-life.com.
Yep.
Vidya Life. Okay. Awesome. Other questions? Let me see. There's one more. Oh no, that's not a question. That's Kathy saying thank you. You're welcome, Kathy. Okay. So if there are other questions, go ahead and submit. There's one more. Let's see. Okay. Hi, Kelly. Do you feel that your corporate sector professional experience gave you the skill set and the confidence to make such a quick pivot during this time?
I would actually say no. I think that it would have hindered me, to be quite honest, just because, coming from, I said yes and no. The skills, yes, but as far as the risk piece of this, I would have said, probably 6-7 years ago, no way that I would have done this out the gate, try to jump this, knowing that, I have potentially, a problem with my own company, go out and start this whole other venture that I have to invest in. And what if it doesn't work? So on the corporate side of me probably would have been a little bit less risk adverse. I think running, the last 2 years through all of these different things that we've had to deal with from, compliance and advertising and just regulations, I think is really what prepared the team for this is, we can get through this. If we can, last and grow in a hemp industry and marijuana industry and survive in a compliant market, then we can go out and create a new product, a safety product. So I think it was kind of a no-brainer that, the corporate piece of it, like we had these skills, I would say, from a supply chain technology to be able to go do it. But the risk piece, I think, came from really, the entrepreneurial piece.
Okay, awesome. Another question from Brian. Hey, Brian. I'm assuming he means who are you reading right now, or which podcasts are currently inspiring you?
So I actually have not been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, but I would say from a book perspective, I'm always reading something. I'm always reading. I don't ever read anything for fun, which is I always say I'm going to, but it's always like business or self-help type of things. And so I actually started reading this book again, Growing a Business, which it's from the 80s, but it's still super applicable. And it's about who started Smith Hawkins. And it's just a great book because it really brings you kind of back to reality when you are, as an entrepreneur, I'd say, in your head about, am I doing the right thing? Is this the right risk to take? Am I being crazy? And because there's no book, no podcast to really tell you how to go move forward in business. There's no path. But I think what this book does is just, it kind of affirms that, oftentimes when somebody, there's a lot of people saying that, that's not going to work because they don't totally understand what you're doing. Sometimes it ends up being the best idea because it's a new idea. And, you got to kind of trust your gut sometimes. But from the book, yeah, it's called Growing a Business. And it looks really old, but it's super applicable. So I'd say that's probably one of the things. And podcasts, I don't know. Anything that anybody sends me, I'm always listening for, small business type stuff and, how people got to where they're at. And obviously, Apple and Bill Gates and like all of these, wonderful entrepreneurs that have started something in their garage and made something huge impact in the world. So, yeah.
All right. Another question. Have you ever taken a risk like this before where it hasn't paid off?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I thought where we would be with Vidya now would be a lot more along than we are. And I think it's kind of the same thing, like gut check, like, are we doing the right thing? Because it seems as though, we're moving and we have these good ideas and we're on the right path, but we're not actually out the gate yet. And I think it's just resetting your mind and making sure that that I know too, is that, it doesn't happen overnight. It always seems like, these companies started and like, the next month they're these big entrepreneurs with these great giant companies, and it's not reality. And, I think what we've done a good job at is realizing like what the market needs and really pivoting in order to be able to take care of that and, change our path and not just focus on, what do we want to bring to market, but what does the market want?
Somebody says, will we see Vidya sanitizers in retail stores?
I hope so. Right now, so we just, like I said, got out the gate a couple weeks ago. So we are in a market, a grocery store that's in Connecticut right now. And so that was our first order that we've had like right when we got the product completed. And that's what we're shooting for. I mean, we're trying to get into different grocery store chains, and we're online, obviously, and just trying to kind of get out the gate. But I'd say anybody that knows that when we, finds out that we have it, it's definitely an easy sale. It's just there's not a lot of establishments open in order to kind of get that word out right now. But our hope is really, to have it in grocery stores and convenience stores and, office complexes. I think it's going to be everywhere. So, hand sanitizer in general is going to be everywhere in every office space when people start going back to work.
And the last question, Ken Morris, what's the story behind the name of your company?
So Vidya actually so we were Green Source Supply when we were actually just a consulting agency. And then we came up with the name Vidya. I'd give credit to Brian Saxman, who owns Moss Marketing. So he and his team, basically, we came in to visit them. We were looking for an agency, and we just like hit it off, all of us. And so they ended up helped us to come up with the name. So Vidya is a Sanskrit word, and it means knowledge and clarity. And so I'm kind of a yoga nut, and so is really perfect for, I thought the brand, and, I liked the way it sounded. I liked, it started with a V, it looked unique, and then it really spoke to what our mission was, which was really to, provide knowledge and clarity to our end consumers about, the benefits of hemp.
Okay, I'm going to ask my last question now, given that we have about 2 minutes left. So if you want the audience to take away one thing out of this hour, what would that one thing be?
I would say, trust your gut and take charge. I mean, that's really all I've really done, I'd say, is like, obviously do your due diligence, but take charge. Like nothing is too, small, too big to go chase. Like you just have to be able to see it and go for it. And, I think explaining that vision is the hardest thing in the entire world. And that's constantly something that's refined, but take charge, go do it.
Go do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Awesome. With that, I would like to thank Kelly. This was awesome. I learned so much about it. I'm going to hit you up offline, actually. I have like all of these ideas and thoughts and questions, to be honest with you. I bet you get all people pinging you saying, hey, my mother is feeling this.
Yes. That's what we're for, though. I mean, it's like, it's not it's not a simple sell, you know what I mean? And so it is a lot of time, and we talk to a lot of different people with different, illnesses and whatnot. And, by no means are we doctors, but we kind of work together to figure out the right dosage and whatnot to help them.
So thank you for being here. And to our audience, thank you for being here. We're going to have 2 power hour sessions every week for the Entrepreneur SOS. Thank you, Ed, for being here. So please, if you haven't signed up for WorkAbility's email list, please sign up for that, and you'll get the notification and invitation to join those. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah. And with all of that, everybody have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.